Hello and welcome to this Microsoft Power Up session for customer engagement. Amanda here from marketing, and I'm joined by Nigel Bradley, our service delivery manager for the microchannel CRM team. Nigel is ready to run through how easy it is to digitize specific business processes through the use of low-code, low-cost Power Apps. Over to you, Nigel.
Thank you, Amanda. So let's start off today and let's have a quick look at our agenda for today. We're going to have a look at an overview of Power Apps and what they are, and what that means for customer engagement in that customer engagement area of Dynamics. We're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into the standard Microsoft app that are available, and some of you will be well aware of what those standard apps are and be using them on a day-to-day basis if you're using Dynamics 365. We're going to look at how we can extend those standard apps for specific business purposes. So how can we take those out-of-the-box modules from Microsoft and fit them into our business process and fit them into business-specific needs. And then we're also going to have a look at how we can use Power Apps to create specific and new apps for your business. So outside of those ones that Microsoft modularize and put licensing around, how can we start afresh? How can we create new ones that we can leverage for our business? So let's make a little start. Some of you may have been on a webinar about a month ago that we ran around Power Platform. So this is an extension of that and deep diving into the Power Apps component. This screen may be familiar to you if you've been to one of the microchannel events recently, especially with the Power Platform component. You'll see those 4 Power Platform components up the top: Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and the virtual agents. We're going to be deep looking at the Power Apps component, so how we develop applications and what we can develop from an application perspective. You'll notice on that screen there also that we have what that platform is actually built on, and I really want to just draw out that first section there around the common data service. There's been a lot of information around that in the Microsoft world and in the Dynamics world around what that common data service actually is. And the common data service is really a database that sits, that underpins all of those applications. Okay, so let's move on and we'll have a look at what Power Apps actually is. So we can see some benefits here for Power Apps and what that actually might mean for our business. We have some items here around low cost, so being able to drag and drop those components and have some simple logic, reduce time and cost of creating mission critical applications. So really being able to do things quickly with with as little effort as possible. To be able to build apps without compromise. So this is really around having that robust apps component that the platform that is robust enough for us to build the apps that we need for our business. And also then that efficient extensibility. Having that native Office 365 Dynamics, the common data service integration removes a lot of the silos that we have for our organization. So let's have a little look at what this actually means in real sense. So what we're going to look at today is around the standard Microsoft apps, the extending the apps, and creating new apps. So what are Power Apps? I suppose this is a fundamental question that people have, and they've heard about Power Apps and they want to know more. Power App is really a rapid application development platform. So it allows us to very quickly create business applications based on different data sources and different connectors of information that allows us to do things quite easily and quickly within our business or for our business. I suppose the old chestnut of being able to go into a customer event and very quickly and easily on an iPad or tablet capture names, addresses, contact details of our event attendees, and having that enter back into our Dynamics 365 database is a great example of what a Power App actually is. You can see there that it is a rapid application development environment with suites of templates, and we're going to be looking at those three different types of Canvas, Model, and Portal. It all lives on that common data service. So part of what we can do is to develop throughout that common data service and share information around the Microsoft environment. So we might be very quickly be capturing those event attendees in a Power App, having them come back into Dynamics 365 and be reporting on them in Power BI, all in real time. So that common data service is very important for that. And also to have the ability to have connectors to other services. So non-Microsoft, non-common data service platform, where we might be getting our information from Excel documents or Excel spreadsheets, or from other OData services or data sources. We talked quickly about the different types of Power Apps, and these are really explained on this overview slide here, just in terms of the three different types that are in the family of Power Apps at the moment. And I suppose this tries to just demystify what actually is a Power App. So the three different types are Canvas Power App, and that's what we were talking about before in terms of being able to go to an event and capture something, capture our attendees' information. That's one component, and we'll go through that. Little or no code, drag and drop design. We also have the model-driven apps. So those ones that are those folks who are familiar with Dynamics 365 and customer engagement, maybe you use sales. They're pre-built model-driven apps. So there are some pre-built ones that we're going to have a look at, those standard components. But that does not mean that we can't extend those or to make new ones as well. So that model-driven apps is probably the most frequently used, but it's also probably the ones that we don't extend or don't create new ones enough of. And we'll show you how that might work for your organization shortly. The last one is the Power Platform apps. And the Portal Power App, and that is probably the latest addition into the Power Apps family. And this really uses the previous ADX Studio solution as its foundation. So anybody who has a Dynamics portal or an ADX portal is now using a Power Portal app. And that, once again, sits on the common data service. It's part of that whole network. And we are able to include that as one of the apps, and you'll see that partially as we go through today. But we're going to focus on the Canvas apps and model-driven apps today in what that looks like for our business. Moving on. So just to dive a little bit deeper, Power Apps. So we have our Canvas apps. You can see an example of what that might look like. You'll see a real example in a moment. But we can connect those to over 250 pre-built connectors. It is drag and drop. So this is where we're developing something for a mobile experience primarily, whether it be a tablet or a phone app. These are mobile type applications that we're developing. We also have those model-driven apps, and this is, as we said, what Dynamics 365 sales, enterprise, and customer service, etc., is built on. But we'll look at how we can extend those as well. Also using that common data service, but also being able to create, use other data sources as well. And lastly, as we said, the Portal Power Apps. And this is really where you're sharing things with your external users and customer base, having self-service portals, and to be able to configure that. So Dynamics and Microsoft really has that whole suite of portals, Power Apps, and Canvas apps, all wrapped up under the umbrella of Power Apps. So let's have a little, let's deep dive into our little demonstration here and keep going with what we understand from the Power Apps area and look at those three specific areas or three targeted focus for this afternoon. Looking at our standard Microsoft apps, extending apps for specific business purposes, and creating apps for specific business purposes. So let's let's journey on and have a look at that. One last slide before we get into the actual applications. These are the standard Dynamics 365 model-driven apps that are licensed and out of the box from Microsoft. Why do they have those? Well, if they've got a platform that can do anything, why does Microsoft have these pre-built apps? Purely for the fact that they go to market for specific areas. So you've got your sales app where we can manage our accounts and leads and opportunity and pipeline, and your traditional sales and CRM functionality. You've got your customer service, which is really around managing cases, service agents, SLAs, contracts, etc. So you've got that whole specific area. You've also got the field service area where we can manage our work orders, schedule our external and internal resources to manage those work orders and schedule those on a scheduling board, etc. We also have the project services component. Now you can see that that's grayed out just a little bit in a note down the bottom. This is being moved to Dynamics 365 Project Operations in October 2020, or the October this year. So there is still functionality available there, and it's going to be enhanced, grown, and moved under the finance component or ERP component of Dynamics 365 later in the year. But it is quite a robust project management tool as well. Let's get in and have a look at some model-driven apps and the standard apps from Microsoft. And some of you will be very familiar with these. We're starting with something a little easier today. But let's have a little look at those Microsoft developed standard apps as they exist at the moment. So many of you would be familiar with this Dynamics homepage. And this Dynamics homepage is obviously growing and being developed by Microsoft. And as more apps are being put into the family or being rolled out as out of the box, this Dynamics homepage really will grow. And you can even grow that yourself by creating more apps in here as well. So this being the app, your personal app page, you can start to see what apps are available to you. So you can see the standard out of the box ones. I'm going to delve into the home page for the Sales Hub. Most of you who are using Dynamics 365 customer engagement would be familiar with the sales component here. And most of you will have extensions of that as well when we get to the next stage. As you can see, we've got all of the different components of the sales area. Our customers, we're able to take all of that information around our customers and contacts, our leads and opportunity and our pipeline management, be able to dashboard all of that information. But I suppose the key thing here is, and most of you are familiar with the sales area of Dynamics 365 or have exposure to some type of CRM historical information. But the real information here is around how Microsoft is actually creating apps for all of these components. So traditionally, when I logged into the old Microsoft CRM, I saw everything. I had a menu item, and I saw all of those different components across the top. Microsoft is now moving to a more app component. And even in Dynamics 365, the existing solution, we now have all of these apps available to us as those standard apps. Many of them are linked together, but the main ones that we actually have are the Sales app, that Project Service app, the Field Service app, and the Customer Service Hub as well. So Sales being the most prolific one, moving into the Customer Service app, we can see there that we in here, most of you will know that we can manage our accounts and contacts as well in there, as well as being able to manage our cases, queues, and our knowledge base items as well. So in essence, they're modularizing, Microsoft are modularizing Dynamics 365 into what they call apps, and they are the standard apps that are available in Microsoft. Let's move on to extending apps. And I suppose a lot of you who have been through an implementation of Dynamics 365 customer engagement or sales, or even for very much an ERP product, will have been through this process of extending the out-of-the-box functionality. So that's where service providers or professional service providers like Microchannel, like ourselves, actually get involved and start to take those standard apps and work with you as a business to add entities, add custom fields, add business process flows, add business rules to then make this application more business specific. So you can see a scenario there, just as a very simple one. You as a customer may need to add an ABN field on the account record. That is extending that out of the box account sales functionality to make that more appropriate. And to a degree, there's no end to what we can extend that out of the box to. What are the benefits for you as an organisation? Well, you're personalising the application for your organisation. You're automating where possible, so be able to creating those business rules and business process flows. Increased user adoption. The better it is to fit your organisation, the better you have user adoption, and also being business specific. So let's dive in and have a quick look at how we can do that in the Sales Enterprise. And I'm also going to use, in the Canvas app world, a leave application app that is available to how we can actually extend that, take the out of the box and extend that for our own purposes. So let's dive off and have a quick look at that. I'm going to dive back into where we were for Dynamics 365 and the Sales app. So moving into that Sales app, what we actually have available in Dynamics 365, if you haven't actually been into there, is around customizing the solution. And when we start to get into the back end and customizing the solution, this is where service providers like us spend most of our time, and we end up being able to delve into a solution and to be able to move around that solution and create different entities, to be able to create different workflows. So for an example, at that example that I had before, I may wish to open up the form for an account, and I can open up that form for the account. This is not tied to service providers like ourselves. Anyone with a system administrator role in your organisation has the ability to do this as well. So you can see here, I've now got the layout of my form. I can move things around. I can remove things off the form. I can edit and remove items if I need to, and I can even add new fields. So that's just to show you very quickly how we can extend, change a form, how we can then also add business process flow, and even down to the stage of being able to change what menus we actually see down the side. So as an example, I'm going to crack open the sitemap for the Sales Hub that we actually were looking at a moment ago. Here's our sitemap and what that looks like. And as an example, we have accounts and customers, our customer area and accounts. This allows me to go in and relabel things, move things around. So for most companies that we deal with, instead of saying accounts, they may say organisations. All of that can be achieved not just in terms of being able to add fields, create business process flows, but really personalise even just down to navigation for the out-of-the-box solution. So for instance, we don't use the goals and forecasting section of that. Let's remove that area. So we can start to very quickly manage what that menu item down the side of Dynamics 365 actually looks like and what it actually functions and does. Very simple, very user-friendly, and that's what service providers like ourselves actually specialise in terms of being certified to actually manage those and configure those. Let's jet off and have a quick look at another component here of Power Apps, and that is the Canvas type apps. So I'm in a different screen, but in essence, I'm where the home of Power Apps actually lives. And so I can actually see all of my Power Apps. I can see what I've actually got from a changed perspective that I've done. I can even go and start to create some Power Apps in here and to be able to start from scratch or use templates. It's not our purpose for today, but what I really wanted to show you, well, not our purpose right at the moment, but what I really wanted to show you was the ability for us to take an out-of-the-box or a pre-developed Canvas app and to be able to customize that for our organization. As I said, you can create Canvas apps from templates, and we'll look at that more specifically in a moment. But I have one here that we already have available to us. So this is one that is a leave request for our organization. And you can see down the side here that we also have, and if anyone's ever been in here, a little bit of quick navigation. We have our canvas that we're actually working on in the middle screen. We have our navigation or our tree view down the left-hand side. And then we have the actual modular configuration down the right-hand side. So as I'm looking at this, I can navigate to different pages in my app in terms of being able to build it and to create new pages if I need to and link them together. But I suppose what we can do quite easily in this is really start to customize and out of the box. So I don't want to break any of the links here. I don't want to reuse. I want to reuse all of that. But in this case, I want to personalize this and add in a logo, maybe start to change some of the graphics. Maybe I don't want to have a beach scene. Maybe I want to have an airport scene for my leave request. I can now start to customize that a little bit more and make it a little bit better user experience or business specific for us. As I then start to play that or test that as a user, I can then log in as that employee. I can see that information. I can then, in this case, I can see my leave balance. I can see company holidays. I can even go and create a new request. So these types of tools in Canvas apps really, I suppose, open up and give your users a lot more freedom and a lot more usability of being able to access and create the information quite easily through apps. And that's exactly what they're designed to do. And as you can see there, we have the ability to take an out-of-the-box app and to configure that a little bit better to make that more appropriate for our organisation. Let's have a little look and move on at creating new apps. So we're going to stick with the model-driven apps and we're going to stick with the Canvas apps. So this is moving away from sales, customer service, field service, and creating something unique for your organisation. And I'm sure that you've all got something that you can create unique for your particular organisation. We have many organisations that have Canvas apps that might be things like those event attendees. We have a few of those for our organisation. But I'm going to show you another example here in a moment. But this really allows us to create things from scratch, either a model-driven app or a Canvas app. And once again, your benefits are really being able to create new functionality, automate processes where available, increase user adoption, and being business specific. So let's jet off and have a quick look at that. I actually do have there is another slide there just to talk through this. So the demonstration is really going to look at a new model-driven app around an asset register, and also a new Canvas app that is also related, where our staff can actually check out an asset, in essence, be able to do that on the fly. So let's have a little look at that as we go through. Once again, let's delve into that Power Apps home. And in here, I can see that I can start to create those apps. Now, it's quite a simple process to be able to start playing around and to be able to create those apps if I want to. You can see up the top, I can start from scratch. I can create a Canvas app, a model-driven app, or a portal app. Let's go and create a Canvas app just from scratch. asked me what I wanted to do, what format I actually want that to be in. So I might call this My App, and to be able to then create that as I so choose. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to create that app and then start to discuss with me or question me on where is that going to connect to? Is that going to connect to the common data service? Is that going to connect to an external data service? What do you want that to mirror? There's a few things that it'll actually go through the process of getting, of establishing to create that Power App. Well, let's just let that load. And straight away, you can see there that I have now got that connected. I've already done that in terms of being connected to the common data service. But I can now start that from scratch. The other option that I have in terms of being able to create is using one of the many templates that are available. And you can see quite a lot of Canvas, a lot of model-driven apps are there as well. And what I've done for this example is I've actually used a set of pre-configured templates to create mine. And you can see there that I've got an asset checkout and an asset checkout for both Canvas and model-driven apps. So when I go into my app section, which I've actually got them set up here already, I can load those up and let's have a little look at that. So I'm loading up the asset app. Now, straight away, this looks very similar to Dynamics 365 customer engagement, except that it's purple. I've got my menu down the side. I've got all of the menu items across the top, and I can click and choose which area I want to work in. Very similar to what user experience for Dynamics 365. So in this one, I have my products that are available for checkout by staff. And then I've also got, as an administrator, I can see all of the active reservations. I can change that and look at all reservations. I can look at returns, all those types of items that I would need in an asset register. And I suppose this can be adopted for any type of business component, whether it's actually creating something to manage donations, whether it's actually creating an approval process for contracts. All of that can be created into an app specifically for, that is specific for your organization. Once again, if I hit that little arrow down the top here, I can see the other apps that are available in my area. So straight away, I'm going to very quickly, while I'm here, give you an example of that fundraiser app as well. So straight away, I can delve into another one that I've actually built, which enables me to manage my fundraiser activities and also the donations that are coming from that as well. So there's a great variety of uses of Power Apps that are non-standard, non-licensed by Microsoft that I can just build as I need to. Jumping back into my asset app that I actually have, I just want to correlate the fact that this is a model-driven app that we're looking at the moment. But let's delve into what we have as a Canvas app. So this is the other side of this. So we've got the model-driven side and the Canvas app side. So this is really the external facing component of this, the mobile registration that my staff might be using. Once again, I can take this, I can load up different images, I can add in different graphics, I can change things around, and I can modify the look and feel of that quite easily to really make that business specific. Once I've got that all happy, this is my user experience for the customer or what my staff will actually use. And as they navigate through, they can choose a product and then check that out as they so choose. That then takes their information, how long they're going to be reserving that for, and lo and behold, that will turn back up in my model-driven app. So quite easily we can use a model-driven app and a Canvas app to have a front and a back end of any business process that you so choose. And that really is, I suppose, the lesson out of Power Apps is that that you can start to then solve a business problem by either a model-driven app or a Canvas app, using that common data service, maybe using an existing instance of customer engagement that you may have and extending that and really taking that to the next level for your organization. So I suppose that really is the lesson in all of that, is that that Power Apps is a platform that I can take my business processes to the next level, far beyond just a Rolodex for a CRM.